Hi everyone, welcome to this week's video. I'm kind of fighting with the natural lighting right now because I am filming at a different time of day and on a different day than I normally do just because of some scheduling things. So I've got different reflections coming in that I'm not used to, but whatever, we will work around that. But today I wanted to do an update video on my planning to pan list. I made a video of that back in January or February of the things in my collection that I wanted to try and use up in 2024. I had 12 items on that list. So today I'm going to check back in on that list and the progress that I've made and kind of talk through some of the items, where I'm at with them, and then do a get ready with me using items from that list. So if you want to see my update and follow along with my get ready with me, then let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna go through the list of items on my planning to pan that I made back in January, February, and use some of those items for today's get ready with me. First, I don't have any eye products on there, so I'm just gonna do a really simple, quick eye look using my Hard Candy eyeshadow sticks. And they really can be just one and done. So I'm just gonna tap some of that on my eyelids. Yesterday when I went back to look at my planning to pan list, I actually was pretty proud of myself. I have used up 2 items on the list, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but then the rest of the things on the list I have either been consistently using or they are currently in my project pan. So we are making progress, I would say, which is exciting. These are good to use too. I don't want to use them up, but I have been trying to make an effort to use them more. I was super into them for months when I first got them, and then I kind of went away from them once I got some new eyeshadow palettes. But they really can just be one and done shadows. Okay, but the first thing for the makeup look is primer. And so if you've seen any of my Project Pan videos, I just did one last week for an update. I have been using my Hello Good Stuff primer from Essence. So that was on my list of planning to pan. So we are making progress on that and it will be used up by the end of the year. But the other primer that I wanted to try and use up this year was my mini e.l.f. Power Grip primer, the pink one with the niacinamide. And it looks like this wouldn't be so hard to use up, but a little goes a long way, and I honestly just don't reach for this very often, but we're going to use some of this today. It is a really nice primer. I mean, obviously I have used some of it because the product level has gone down, and I actually also have the green one as well. So I think the green is the full size. It was a free gift with purchase at one point, maybe from the e.l.f. website or Ulta, I can't remember. But they both truly are gripping. So again, it's just kind of been in the summer. I think I just want something a little more light. And this really is sticky and gripping. So that's just not how I want to feel in the summertime, I think. So definitely the fall and winter, that will be something I pull out more. So those are 2 primers. For foundation, I had 2 foundations on my list. I had the Fenty Pro Filter Foundation, and I actually completely used that up already. So that's the first thing that I've used up on my list. And the other foundation that I wanted to try and get a lot of use out of, I think I said I didn't necessarily want to use it up, but I wanted to use it to a point of making a dent and then knowing if it's something that I wanted to keep in my collection or not, is the Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation. So this is one of the older foundations in my collection, and I just haven't used it a ton. So we're gonna use this today. I honestly think in the course of this year, I have maybe used it 5 times. So I need to be better about that. It's also just a lighter color. So, I mean, it's looking okay right now, but just for the past couple months, it's just been too light for me to use. I've been using some of my darker foundations. But we'll use this today and make it work. And I mean, you're obviously supposed to use it with a beauty blender. I am just lazy and I'm just using a brush today. So I go through phases. Sometimes I'm really into using sponges for my face products, and then other times I'm just really into the brushes. And I've been in a brush phase for most of the year. Does anybody else go through that? You just kind of switch it up every now and then? Yeah, so we can definitely see color match right now. It is very light for me. So that is kind of a problem that we will have to deal with. But it does show me though that once we get into the fall and winter months, this might be a better color match for those times. So I can make more of an effort to use it then. Okay, yeah, not the best color match, but I'm gonna do some concealer. I had one concealer on my list and it was the e.l.f. Camo Concealer and I used that up. So since I don't have another one on my list, I'm just gonna use the one in my everyday drawer, which is the Maybelline Superstay Activewear Concealer. I do remember I was quite happy to have used up that Camo Concealer. It was not my favorite. I didn't like absolutely despise it because I used it up, but I was like, I definitely learned from using it that that was not my preferred like formula and texture of concealer, even though I know the camo concealers are supposed to be like the creamy and hydrating and everything. I honestly felt like it was the opposite. I think I talked about this in an empties video I did with that in it. Like I actually felt like it was a little drying, which was weird. And I also felt the same way about the foundation powder from the camo line. So I don't know if it just, I mean, everything works differently for different people and depending on your skin type, but I guess for me, it just was too drying for me to want to ever repurchase or to even honestly try anything else from the camo line. Okay, so one of the ways I think I can bring some color back to my face to kind of match where I'm at right now better is to use a face powder. And so the one face powder I had on my planning to pan list is the Maybelline Superstay Better Skin Powder. And this is currently in my project pan. This is super old. They've since reformulated and repackaged. In mine, I've repressed it multiple times, but here's where we're at on this. So I'm just going to use this lightly all over to try and set down that foundation, but also maybe add an extra layer of color on top to kind of even out the look a little bit. I know I've said this a lot of times before too. I'm excited to use up this powder as well because then at that point I will only have one loose powder and one pressed powder in my collection. And I'm really trying to be better about having minimal products in certain categories, and powder is one of them because I go through phases like with the brushes and sponges where I just don't use powder, so I feel like I don't need a lot of them around. But I also really, ever since I used that Kosas powder like a year and a half ago, I've just been like wanting that back so bad. But it's pricey to me. It's pricey for a powder, and I kind of told myself I wanted to wait until I at least got my collection down to where I only had one pressed powder to justify buying that powder again. Okay, so that did help with the color a little bit, so that's good. But now we can also add some more color back to the face by doing bronzer. And the bronzer that I had put on my planning to pan list was my NARS Laguna bronzer. I have the mini size. This is currently in my project pan, so you should have seen the update on this in last week's video. So I'll have that playlist linked below for you to check out. Earlier in the year, I had used up a like face bronzing palette that had like a sculpting powder, a bronzer, and a highlight in it. And so then I was able to move on to this. So I've only been using this NARS powder bronzer for maybe like 2 months at this point. And so I am very hopeful, since it's a mini, that I will be able to use it up by the end of the year, even though it is taking me an incredibly long time to hit pan, in my opinion. And I'm not as worried because it does seem to blend out decently and not look too crazy, but it's definitely a darker bronzer for me. So I'm hoping once we get into like September, October, and my tan goes away a little bit, that I'll still be able to use this bronzer consistently and then be able to use it up by the end of the year. Okay. I don't have a blush on my planning to pan, although I feel like that may be something that I add to my list for next year because I have accumulated a lot of blushes, at least to me, this year. So I'm just gonna throw on my Essence the blush in the shade Believing. I also have gone through a phase this summer. Like I said, I accumulated a lot of blushes and they were all cream blushes or liquid blushes. So I have a lot of those in my collection now, which I used to not have. So yeah, definitely next year I want to think about either trying to pan one of them or hit pan on a few of them and just kind of be better about rotating through all the ones I have in my collection to make sure that they're all getting use. Because I do really like all the blushes I have. I thought about that the other day. I hadn't done a declutter video in a while, but then I was looking through things like my blushes, which is a category I think I have the most products in, and I was like, honestly, I like all my blushes. There's not one that I want to part with, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, I'm gonna throw on some mascara. I'm just gonna use my CoverGirl Clean Lash Blast, and then we will be back to do some lips. Okay, we are back. I did mascara, and then I also added the lightest shade of my eye stick and the shade Bubbly to my inner corner, and then I did Cold Brew underneath a little bit. So really easy eye look just using these two eye crowns. So now for lips, I have 4 things on my planning to pan list, and I'm now thinking, I don't know if this is unrealistic that I'm going to be able to use up all 4 of these by the end of the year, but you know, now that I kind of revisited, I am more motivated and I'm sure as heck gonna try. So the first one is a lip liner. This is currently in my project pan, which again, you should have seen an update for last week, so go watch that as well if you haven't already. And it is my Makeup Forever lip liner in C3C. So we're definitely getting shorter. And I think I said in previous videos that in the past when I've had a lip liner in my sorry, the lighting is so weird. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm filming at a different time of day, so got weird reflections going on that I don't normally have. But normally when I use a lip liner, I'm also able to use it as a blush. And I tried that with this one and it just was really patchy and like left little like dots everywhere, if that makes sense. It was weird. So I think unfortunately I'm only going to be able to use this as a lip liner, but I'm making really good progress on this. And I think if I just really focus and you know, make sure that I'm consistent with using this at least once every single day, then I could use this up by the end of the year because it's going to get to the point where, you know, you can't even sharpen it anymore. So next I do have one like lipstick type product that I wanted to try and use up, and it is this L'Oreal Le Lacquer like skinny lipstick. It's kind of a cool toned pink, but we're going to try this with the liner anyway today. So it's pretty, it's actually still quite creamy considering how old it is. It's just not typically a color I would go for very often right now. I'm kind of more in that neutral phase. And I do think though that this is one that I could potentially use as a blush as well, like a cream blush once I get to that point. So I'm thinking that this might be the next thing that I roll into my project pan once I have something that's ready to be replaced. And then I could focus on using this both ways because like, I don't think it was last year, but maybe the year before, I panned a similar product, a skinny lipstick from e.l.f. And since it's so skinny, it actually took way less time to use up than I had originally anticipated. So that would be cool to use this up by the end of the year. I just don't know because there is, I'll risk rolling it all the way up. There is quite a bit of product left in here. But again, if I'm also using it as a cream blush and a lipstick and reapplying that lipstick multiple times throughout the day, there is a chance that I could use this up by the end of the year. So then I have 2 glosses on my list. I'm going to try and use both of them today. The first is my NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Strawberry Parfait. I don't even know if they make this shade anymore. I know butter glosses are still around. I just don't know about the shades. But it's just such a fun, like bubbly pink. That actually looks really good with that lipstick. I feel like they complement each other really well. And this, it feels really light, so I'm like, this has got to be almost empty anyway. I've had this for so long, and I went through a phase where I used this like all the time. So I don't know, we will see. It just, yeah, it feels pretty empty, but I don't know. I don't think it's at like the level of taking out the stopper yet, but I don't know if I'll be able to use this up by the end of the year. It is a pretty specific color, but I will definitely make an effort to use it more. And I think next time I do a Shop My Stash, I will move this into my everyday drawer. And then the last lip gloss I had wanted to use up was my Bite lip gloss in Sugar Drizzle. And I especially wanted to use this up since Bite is no longer in business. And so I've really made an effort over the past year and a half to use up all of my Bite products, and this is the last one left. And it is a really glittery and like really sticky lip gloss. So it's not my favorite formula, if I'm being honest, but it can add a little bit of shine. And I actually think this would be really pretty around the holidays. So I don't know. I don't know if I can wait that long for like November and then just like use this all up so quickly. But it is a twist up. So I do think there is possibility to use this up much faster. And also it's a way to make sure you're getting every last drop of product out of here. So just for the record, if you can see where the product is, it is about in the middle of the E of Bite. So I have that on record now for whenever I start using this again. But yeah, I definitely think I could use this up by the end of the year. So I think the only questionable items at this point would be, I'm hesitant to say that I'll be able to use the lipstick up by the end of the year just because I haven't really grabbed for it at all this year yet. I also have slight concerns about the NARS bronzer just because of the color and how dark it might get once we get into the fall and winter months. And then it's not really a concern per se, but like I said in the original planning to pan video, I'm not planning to actually like completely use up this foundation, but I want to make a much more concerted effort, especially in the fall and winter months, now that I've seen how light the shade is for me right now, to put a pretty big dent in this and, you know, see if it's something that I want to keep in my collection and keep trying to use completely up, or if I reach a point where I'm like, you know, I've used it a ton, like maybe I've used half of it or 75% of it, and it's because it's been in my collection for quite a long time, so it's also old, and, you know, do I want to just declutter it at that point? So those are the three things that I am hesitant about. Oh, I have one more thing I almost forgot. I had thrown this off to the side since it's the last step, and it is my ColourPop highlighter in Lunch Money. I've definitely expanded the pan on this since the beginning of the year, and again, this is one of the ones I am questionable if I will be able to use this up by the end of the year, but let's just throw some on. I usually just use my fingers because of it's like a bouncy kind of texture, which I like. I should have put this on before I did my lip gloss. I really do like this highlighter though. It's a nice, like more subtle highlighter to me, and since it's got like the undertone of it, it's like that champagne-y undertone, so I don't feel like it's too silver of an undertone, but I also don't feel like it's too gold or pink either. It's just like that perfect like neutral champagne color, and yeah, that looks really nice today. So yeah. Okay, so that really is all the things that I had on my planning to pan list. So I have a total of 12 things on my planning to pan list. I have already completely used up 2 of them, so that means there are 10 items left. And a few of those are in my current project pan, and then the rest I will hopefully be able to either add to my project pan or add and then keep in my everyday makeup drawer going forward. So thank you all for watching this video this week. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Leave a comment below letting me know what progress you've made on using things up in your collection if that's something that you're interested in doing. I posted a video a couple weeks ago about the whole underconsumption core trend going on, and so I think this is a really fun discussion to be having right now. So I would love to see any comments or thoughts you have on that and using things up in your collection. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you are notified of all of my upcoming videos, and I will see you next time. Bye everyone.